Ready, Your Honor. So we'll call the study session to order, and would you all please rise? Join with me in reciting the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to remind everybody that today is Donna Ogle's party up at the courthouse. It's from 11 to 1. She's going to be leaving us next week, and she's, how many years has she been with us? So
14.
That's what I thought. So she's been a very sweet, productive, nice person to have working with us, and so if you would so honor her, I think she would appreciate it.
She's still nice after 14 years. She ought to apply for the same thing.
That and 10 of the dog.
Well, you know, you're right.
Putting up a doggy that long.
Okay, public comment. Okay, hearing none. Do you have anything for us today?
No change in operation. We've been busy and everything's running good.
That means no. Yeah.
No.
Okay, you have a change in the agenda, I think you'll find.
Open up your board packets, there's a change in agenda.
We'll just kind of go down the agenda. Well, I'll tell you what, first, do you have anything, Dan?
We did meet a couple of weeks ago with Andrew and the Animal Shelter Committee, and we came up with some proposals, and I'd prefer to wait till Andy is here so we discuss them and vote on them and so forth. So we do have basically everything worked out, we think. So.
Very good. Appreciate it, Dan.
Okay.
There's basically two items that we'll be able to dealing with: the new cat
or
law,
the call out,
and then the call out policy.
And also we have changed the job description a little bit.
Pardon me, change on what restriction?
Her job description.
Oh, okay.
Job description.
John, do you have anything this morning?
I have nothing.
Carl?
No.
Phil?
No.
And then finally, you, sir. Derek?
Next Wednesday, does that seem reasonable? Is that for what? Sam says Wednesday and Fridays. Is that the best time for her?
Oh,
Wednesday should work, yeah.
Okay. 11?
11.
All right. Let me finalize that, but I will let you know if that changes. Carl, does that work for you, sir?
Yeah.
There's fresh coffee if you need it.
Hey.
Is that an ambulance meeting, Derek?
Yes, sir.
Wednesday, December the 11th?
Yes.
Or December the 3rd?
All right. 4th is what I
Is it 4?
saw, but
It is 4.
yeah.
I'm sorry, my bad.
What else you don't say?
That's a good question. Yes, is there times you have two ambulances going out at the same time?
He's very
Yeah,
intimidating.
there's times we run 3 at all the same time.
Okay. Is that because you go to one place or separate places, or because somebody weighs too much?
So if it's a critical call, we'll send multiple ambulances. Then obviously if an ambulance gets on scene, they can always request additional help. But
Okay.
there's some calls we auto roll 2 or 3 trucks to. Just depending on the
I don't
nature.
know, sometimes your patient weighs 400 pounds, 2 people can't handle one of those. Just wondering.
Anything else, sir?
So I'm making sure that works for me. They are out pumping concrete today. It's like we're in the final stages. The concrete that they're working on today out at the airport is the pad where the old tanks sat. So it looks to be the last major project that needs done. So that's moving along. Is there any action we need to take in the near future as it pertains to Hanson?
Okay. Tom is working on, it doesn't affect the current projects we're currently on, but we're advertising, we're required after so many years to advertise for an engineer. And you put it online, and Tom's in the process of getting all that done and working with Hanson to make sure he's got the wording and everything right. And then we'll advertise, and then the board, either in December or in January, will need to take action on selection of a engineering firm, which most likely will be them, but we don't know for sure,
Right.
okay?
And so when you say current projects, you mean the wedding in January as
Right,
well?
that's already covered under the old
Contract.
contract.
All the work for basically,
Right.
okay, so, alright. I think that's it.
They have had training and have sold gas under the new system. We got 2,500 gallons in each tank, so we're good to go.
Have
So,
you used the credit card thing yet?
that's what I'm saying.
What he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've got training on it, so for troubleshooting or problems, and we've got 2 people trained on it so far, okay? Any questions on the budget and levy ordinance that we're gonna pass this coming Wednesday?
No, I was gonna back up a second, but
Please do.
finish this discussion on the
Okay,
budget.
one county, I know which one, forgot to do this, and they're in a hell of a mess, so,
It's not the budget?
yeah, budget
Yeah,
and levy,
so, yeah, yeah.
so,
No money, huh?
well, they're figuring it out, but it took, some legal, ease to figure it out, so.
I noticed you budget money to transfer patients, inmates, do we know how much it's gonna cost? or
No, we have no idea. We'll talk about that when we start talking about the jail
Okay.
a little bit,
All
and
right.
kind of impart to you about that puzzle and how we're gonna deal with it,
Okay.
okay? John?
Since Andy wasn't here, it got passed over on buildings and grounds, but do you wanna talk about new employee for unlocking and locking the courthouse?
Well, supposedly we had one starting this morning. I don't know whether he was there.
He did.
He did?
Mike Kennis started this morning, and he came in at 8 o'clock and said, all looks pretty good, I'll be back at 4 o'clock. I said, well, that's a good sign if you're gonna come back.
And we have another handyman guy that's willing to do odds and ends stuff on call if Mike can't handle it, and
Right.
so.
And there's a procedure for all of the offices to turn into Augie's office, a sheet that says any issues that they're having, so that Mike can check it in the morning, or if it's too big for Mike to handle, that we can involve our handyman. Okay, so we're gonna try that.
So they are both on the payroll, is that how that's gonna
No.
work, or?
Well, Mike is, but the other
is
one,
just,
we're,
they're getting bills?
right.
Got it.
Any questions about that?
Do we have any updates on our tech improvement process? Are you, either of you have any updates on that with Ross and
The camera?
cameras and
Yeah.
server racks and
That-
screens and
Fiber
fiber
optics.
optics, and which are probably the
You
primary.
can pull him in, I'll make sure he's here for the next study session. How's that?
Some white
And of
brass.
course, we have held him off of certain projects and had him do, kind of change the priority to,
Sure.
since we didn't know which, what, and wherefore, so.
Got
Okay?
I was at the jail this morning and commercial radio was still there working, but I think they pretty well got all the cameras in place on courthouse, annex, and the jail. And yeah, at the jail, there's the whole walls. There's all kinds of cameras.
Oh, good.
It's
I'm glad-
unreal.
I didn't even notice, and I've been there as much
Yeah.
as you, 'cause I'm right on top of things. Okay?
Yeah, they pretty well got everything, but they're just like fine tuning everything.
Okay. Have you seen, somebody, I don't know who was talking about that, somebody had seen kind of the setup, the command center, they had it in a temporary location, so that was pretty impressive.
Like they had it there at the courthouse, but everything is working at the jail.
Did you wanna,
Whoa.
Well,
Whoa!
canvas is.
Okay, alright.
Augie, Smart Watt, they wanna have a kickoff, you wanna,
Yeah, we're trying to schedule a kickoff meeting for SmartWatt. We're just, it's kind of back and forth with dates and who's in town and who's not in town, and so I haven't heard yet from the guy's name's Chuck at
and we're
SmartWatt.
talking December, right?
We're talking December, yes.
First couple of weeks.
Right. Hopefully, either study session or the board meeting?
Yeah, we're kind of thinking about board meeting, because either way, we've got to spend the time, okay?
Did we decide, was Ross gonna be kind of the,
We haven't decided yet.
no,
I mean, we can, but I mean, we haven't. I didn't think we had decided,
no,
but we need to, that's something the committee needs to figure out how we're gonna handle that. And we gotta have backup.
right? I mean, Mike obviously needs to be involved, but
Absolutely.
we need to have a
I think you'd
full-time,
enjoy that, yeah.
a full-time person.
Right, that can monitor and
Right.
react to any particular situation.
Right.
Yes. Okay, Augie, am I missing anything as far as the building and grounds?
As far as building and grounds?
Yes, sorry.
I guess
To answer his question, no. No, unless you have questions, I mean,
You're talking about Mike Hennis being the backup person.
Yeah, since he's not full-time,
There'd be a job requisite to have a smartphone.
Yes, he does. Do you know Mike?
Because if it was Carl gonna be the backup, I say no, can't do it.
Do you know Mike?
Not well.
You know, yeah,
Man,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, guys, that was the city administrator wanting to know the disposition of the jail. And I said we were gonna be talking about that next. Where were we?
well, I
So you
answered,
asked all
I
the
answered your
answers.
question.
All right.
He said no.
But I have a couple other things before you jump into the main topic, whenever you're ready for me.
We have a letter from the Department of Agriculture, it's on the agenda, a withdrawal letter of that permit. We want to make sure that we officially recognize that, so that we don't run into a problem with not having or not doing something we're supposed to do. So that's on the agenda. Now I guess we're gonna be talking, also on there, we have approval. We've already approved the other insurance company, but we've got the approval of the Cincinnati Insurance as provider of property, casualty, and liability for the Edgar County Jail from December 1st through to November 30th, 20. And the reason I want to put it on there is we've never really approved that company. The current insurance company would not approve or not insure the oldest part of the jail. This company is providing coverage for the entire jail, property, casualty, and liability. So we wanted to make sure we were totally covered as opposed to piecemeal. So we're asking for your approval so I can sign that. The checks are cut for everybody. Obviously, we haven't given them out, but we need to put that piece of the puzzle together so we can move forward.
What's deductible? Is it a 50,000
No,
out of
it's
pocket?
actually, they dropped it back down to 25
Okay.
on the jail. Okay? As far as liability for the actions at the sheriff's department. Okay? I guess, the
No.
only, go
another
ahead.
question, on Cincinnati, is their deductible 25 or do you know? 5,000, yeah,
I'm sorry, 5,000. Yes. Of course, they're not covering
Right.
actions, they're only
Right.
covering liability.
right.
Okay, so. The only other thing before the gorilla in the room that we need to talk about is that we want you still, and do you have a copy of the resolution that the state's attorney, is it in the packet?
Yes.
Okay. We
I had
need
it
for
now.
you to take a look at that. He simply put 3/4 of a cent in there as a holding. It could be 1%, it could be 3/4, it can be a half, but we do need to talk about that. I don't know whether this is the time. We definitely need to talk about it at the next study session, and it has to be on the next agenda if we're going to approve it and be able to get it on the budget. Are there any thoughts on it right now?
I would have one just to bring up and let people think about. What would be the possibility of putting a sunset clause in on it? You know, so it only goes for 5 years or whatever, without renewal.
I don't know. I know that, well, Any other thoughts on that?
You can do that. That's not uncommon throughout the state when they pass a safety tax, especially when they're going to construct a new facility. They'll match the safety tax with their bond schedule, payment schedule.
Of course,
But we're not
won't
doing
know
that.
going into it
Right,
what a schedule would look like.
right.
And you can always not collect it too. You can sunset it yourself by sending the state. I mean, you're not required to, but you can sunset it yourself. Carl?
Nothing.
Phil? Dan? Any thoughts?
We have any idea what the delta is between 0.75% and 1%? and actual-
$250,000.
On what's the total? I guess I can figure that out.
Oh, I'm
$1
sorry.
million.
750, every quarter cent is
Should be
700,
able to
is
figure that out.
250.
Fish my coffee yet.
R equals,
Yeah.
2x equals 6, and so this one ain't gonna try to build a jail, is that what we're gonna try to do?
support the sheriff's department. Building a jail, I guess is a possibility, but we need to get, there's a list of different things that I had and talked about. But one of them is to hire an architect and find out what we
Right,
can do with the
right.
current facility to improve not only its interior function and get us into the 21st century, but also the aesthetics of the facility as it,
Well, I think
As
we need
part of
to
downtown.
kinda start figuring out how to build a jail. Like Terre Haute took them, 3 years to finally get to the end where they actually,
I'm not saying this isn't an easy
no,
deal.
that's not easy, no. But it
Yeah.
might be something that people in every county think, well, we're trying to do something about the jail.
But I had, I'll go over the list briefly again. It would relieve pressure on funds that we're currently using for the sheriff's department to work on the courthouse, not with those funds directly, but it would free up funds. I'm just looking at justifications. Other department and project needs are suffering because of our inability to correctly fund and keep ourselves in compliance with state and federal laws as far as the jail. Smart Watt payments, again, freeing up funds. That these funds would provide the sales tax for the operation and maintenance of facilities regarding the sheriff's department. Staff needs, correcting jail inspection reports, physical, maintaining bell tower commitment, meeting staffing needs required at jail by DOC, hiring architect and or engineer for the jail, and a serious commitment to the jail for the future. So these are just some of the items. Some of them, by getting these funds, we can do what we need to do at the sheriff's department, frees up funds that we're currently using, kind of they're nickel and diming us currently and not able to do or follow through on our commitments with other projects because we're constantly funneling money to the sheriff's department when we really aren't even being able to be successful with that right now. So those are my thoughts only. They don't represent the board as a total, just my thoughts. Okay? Anybody have any further comments on that?
John, your question, is that from the just palatability aspect or what?
Yeah, I think as much as anything, you know, just if we had a 5-year time, I'm just throwing 5 out as an example, if there was a limited time frame, I think it'd be a little bit more palatable and, you know, if you did have it going for 5 years and you had a clear path going forward and needed more time, you know, you could put it back on the ballot again and extend and you find out if everybody has faith in the path forward we've been doing,
Right,
in a nutshell.
yeah.
I just, you know
No more.
how open-ended time frame taxes are.
Yeah, I understand that, certainly, and I don't know whether it would be 5 or 10, but I would certainly entertain it, and I said, I think, you know, I think we should pursue this, and I think, you know, we should put our best effort forward in order to get it passed, you know, and have everybody have some buy-in. So the things that would affect that would certainly be something like that, and it'd also be, you know, what's reasonable to put on there, whether it's 3/4 or 1 or what. So I mean, I think that's worth discussion. I don't know if it'd be 5 or 7 or 10, but certainly
Right.
something to entertain.
Any other thoughts? Augie?
Carl, what do you think? What do you think the money should be used for, if it passes?
Pardon?
All the things you mentioned, you think that should be something we advertise as far as what the money's gonna be used for, or just maybe 2 or 3 things, mainly the jail? Because that's all you hear around town, what are you gonna do about the jail? What are you gonna do about the jail?
It's a constant question.
Right, always. So
Yeah,
if you
my
say we're gonna
list
do
is
all
more
yours-
in-depth than it probably should be, but I just wanted you
Yeah, I
to
understand
have a
what you're
notion
saying
of the
too.
creation that it would create. Never mind. Never mind. My brain is
So
fried.
my,
It's all right, I was
my
still-
point is that should be the #1
$4
priority.
million, so.
If we pass a safety tax, is to do something about either plan for a new jail or do something with the jail. To me, that should be a #1 priority, because that's the reason why I basically don't pass the safety tax or try.
I think another one is staffing needs. We
Yeah,
are
right,
currently not
right.
at a staffing
And I've
level.
heard good comments about the one you just started, and I heard an excellent comment about, said, should've done that a long time ago.
Yeah, we don't dispute that. We have a lot of problems that originated from lack of supervision, management,
Right.
training at the jail.
Right.
Would you agree with that, Carl?
Yes,
No doubt.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But, you know, money is not the biggest problem. That's part of the problem, but the biggest problem is, like he just said, the management, lack of training, supervision, no one being held accountable.
That goes right back to the same,
It goes to the top,
right.
Right,
no leadership.
right,
I mean,
I agree.
we need to be frank. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
thinks
mama.
it's the condition of the jail, that's part of it, but that's a small part of it.
Right.
It's the management.
But we have no.
And management doesn't cost anything, for the most part.
Yeah,
It's,
Currently costs something.
well, yeah,
Will
it's
cost
cost,
something for the next 3
it's,
years,
it's
but
costing the county a lot of money.
problem
because
is,
of
we
it.
don't have authority to actually dictate what
That's
should
true.
be done.
That's
We can
true.
dictate how
It's-
much money gets, or
We're
is
gonna
spent,
spend this
but
money
how-
because this guy can't get it done.
Right,
When it should be, and that he should be saving us a lot of that, but
And-
it's not gonna happen.
And that's
Well-
my biggest issue with the safety tax, and, you know, in a clear conscience, I can't ask people for more money if the money's not what's going to solve the problem. I'd like to
that's
prove
an
that
important distinction
we
to make,
can,
for sure.
you know, if we can prove that we can manage it and run it, then
Right.
I can see the
That's my
need.
point.
I think it's important to separate those two things. Certainly, we are in a fiscal situation because of sheriff and what's going on at the jail. That is something that won't be mitigated by, or we should not be asking the public to make up for elected officials' failures, right? That's an important distinction to make. However, I think you can look at some of the issues that have faced our deputies, our jail, and the like, that are, even under ideal circumstances in management, we would benefit from having some more assets available. Staffing another deputy, you know, you go back and you look at what this county had on the road. I mean, how many deputies did you have, Carl? Did you have more than were?
Currently,
Currently.
but that was because I was able to acquire grants. Back then, 2 of the deputies were hired and their salaries were paid for 3 years through the Cops Fast and the FAST grants. We had the drug task force coordinator,
And, you know, we worked with the city on it, and they shared the expense of that, so,
Sure.
you know, we had
Which a lot of those-
additional sources. If we didn't have those sources, we wouldn't have had those
Right.
additional
But
deputies.
the public benefited from having
Yes.
more coverage, right?
Right.
Those programs don't currently exist, so that's just one
Right.
example of something that the
Right.
public would
Here's
benefit from that.
another example. In order to maintain a jail, you have to have 2 people on staff every shift. We have, to my knowledge, never had that. And in order for us,
But we authorized the sheriff to have that. We had in his budget,
some of it, not a third though, we had 7.
we had 7,
Right.
right? And that would have made it adequate enough to comply with what DOC wanted us to do by just utilizing the lower part. But 2 years ago, you and I and another member walked through the jail, sat down in the sheriff's office and told him, get this stuff fixed. The last 3 years, $120,000 was not used in the building and grounds line item. That could have been used to fix a lot of those things. Currently, there's $30,000 being unused in that same line item. You know, so money has been made available. You know, we had a money for the last 3 years for a chief deputy that was never hired to help with administrative. We've had jail administrators all the time that,
Never
Sure.
done much.
but.
Well, and that's,
things weren't done.
so there's some good points in there, right? So
Right.
part of this is, you know, some of the things that haven't been done over the last 5, 6 years, and some things before that even.
Right.
As far as the conditions of the jail. You know, you're not going to do a like-for-like replacement of those funds and get the same outcome, right? Because of the deterioration of those facilities. It costs more, the longer we go without fixing some of these problems, the more expensive it is, to some extent, you know, a few percentage points, right?
Right.
So that's one. The staffing issue we covered. I would argue that what we budget for the sheriff's department, regardless of line item, we are always over. Some of that will be
It's
fixed
inadequate.
by proper management. I don't know if it would all be fixed by proper management. I think also that if we want to be nimble when it comes to what's best for the county, we need to have this kind of funding in place, right? Because we've had a lot of great ideas that we don't necessarily have the funding for, whether it is a jail, whether it's a public safety building. I mean, even if those two things are separate, those would be an important addition to the county, I feel, right? So not only, you know, so having this money in place would, you know, hopefully we have a situation where our jail and sheriff's department, deputies and the like are under what we consider very good management. They're taking care of these problems. We'll be able to fill in any gaps that weren't management related, and then we can pursue some of these bigger projects that, you know, the county could certainly benefit from. And as it pertains to, you know, the courthouse, which is kind of a tangential one, it's still something that we have, you know, something that if we want to keep this building alive and kicking, we have to have funds going towards it. So
That's 90,000 that we wouldn't have to spend on the jail, that we could then put into other infrastructure that we're currently not gonna do. Plus, we even need more than that.
Well, if I saw the safety tax, and the reason why I'm gonna vote for it, my number one priority would be, what are you gonna do with the money? You gonna take care of the jail, or are you gonna take care of the courthouse? Let me finish. If you said all these things you said, then I probably would not vote for a safety tax, because I know it's not going to where I think it should be going. That's what I'm saying. People don't understand the budget and all that.
Well, that's true.
That's like the thing on the courthouse. If you have a safety tax to work on that, most people aren't gonna vote for it, because they say, well, that money should be going to the jail,
Well,
not to working on the
That's-
courthouse.
It
Even
does
though we
confuse
know,
the issue.
even though we know the money should be going that direction too.
It can only
They don't
go
know
to
that.
the jail.
It can only go to
Into budget
law enforcement, period.
Yes.
That's all it's for.
you bring a good point that it is how we
How we
propose
advertise it, right,
and show.
that's my point,
Right.
yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, we don't wanna, yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
didn't,
Oh,
But in one of the conversations I had with the insurance company, I said, if we had a brand new jail today, brand new jail, could we operate it,
Probably not.
open up? They said absolutely not.
Right, I agree.
Did he say that just recently?
Yes.
Because he started saying that,
Last Thursday, I talked to him.
okay,
We
yeah.
wouldn't have the staff.
And that's
we
all
wouldn't
because
have
of
the-
administration.
Right, I understand.
Right.
that,
Yeah.
Same token, though, it's just,
And that's
Yeah.
part of my problem, you know, to me, you know, we're asking them, you know, that they can make, the public can make their decision, but we're asking them to potentially tax for this, but my contention is we need to show that we can have everything under control and administratively before we ask them. That's
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
right, yeah.
I think you've got to put yourself in a position for success. If
And-
we are, I'm not done,
I know,
okay.
sorry.
If we get a lot of our ducks in a row, we may not have the money to get them all in a row. When do we find out what we need to do? We need to hire an architect. We need to reduce our overtime. We need some other things that we don't have the staff money available to do those things. Whether or not we do what we're doing now, I mean, on 20.
But
We've
we
got to
gotta
s-
get our ducks in a row.
We better.
Well,
Well, but I
Well,
mean, we're
don't you
going
feel
to,
like we're making.
But you're not counting on the sheriff to do that, are you?
No.
no,
no.
no,
But
we're
that's-
counting on our
that's
new
not
guy.
They do
With
have
this new jail
administrator.
administrator, we're headed in the right track for the jail.
That's a start, that's
Yes.
step one.
And I understand that right now, it's only very early in him actually having actions on.
Been here less than 10 days.
And he's already turned around attitudes at all
Okay,
levels.
let me ask you a question. Where does the authority go between this guy and the sheriff? I mean, if this guy says this and this and this needs to be done, he's
He's,
supposed to do it, he ain't gonna do it. But the administrator knows it should be, and this, what do we do there? I just-
he's
question.
given free rein to
The sheriff
the
gotta
adminis-
do what he tells him to do? If this needs to be done, just do it.
Yep.
That's good.
That's our understanding. And Pearl and I've talked to him
That's where you
individually.
look at it.
I heard good comments.
He's a go-getter.
So I guess one thing that as far as, you know, back to perception and where things are, right? So keep in mind that people's memories are short, and right now, all we're talking about is the jail because it's closing, right? That's what's in the paper. This goes on the ballot in, what, 4 months, 5 months, whatever it is, right? 4 months, right?
Little less.
Things will have changed, things will have moved on. So it's our duty to be the ones thinking ahead, to think what happens next, what happens in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years from now.
We need a long-term solution.
And so that is what this does, right? And so we know, I mean, I don't think anybody can argue that this money could be very well used and is needed, right? Will we know exactly where that's gonna be today when we vote on this, or even right as we have it on the ballot? It's our job, and it's what we do, it's what we're doing here on Wednesday, is putting forward that budget, voting on the budget, right? So we have plenty of things to work on. It'll be our job, along with the jail administrator, to put this to the best use possible, right? And being able to do it, because if you kick that can down the road, like Jeff just said, we get into a position where we have everything as far as our staffing, our administration, our SOPs, all suitcased, but there may be some issues structurally, whatever, with the jail that we just don't have the funds to cover.
I don't even think we can cover the staffing when it's gonna come down to brass tacks. Okay?
That's a big deal.
Well, it's
That
like-
is a big deal.
Like me comparing
You're
apples to
absolutely
oranges,
correct,
which
though.
is Terre Haute. How many years I read in the paper all the time it took for them to get to the point where they actually passed the safety tax, they got the plans for jail, got the space. Took 3 to 4 years for them to get that done. I know it's like comparing a small county to a big county, but still, the base is still the same. They passed the safety tax to get a jail built.
Actually, they put it on they didn't actually, the safety tax is actually on
Right.
property.
Mhm.
It
Right,
is
it's on
not
property, it's
on
on
sale,
property,
it's
right.
not technically a sales tax.
Right.
It goes on the property tax.
Right.
And there are a lot of folks that
So
aren't
Tom,
really
I'm
very.
surprised he got that passed.
Yeah, it took them a long time.
I don't wanna hear that.
But
This
that's
in-
potentially could potentially lower property taxes.
Yes, if we pass
Pie in the
this,
sky.
Well, I know, but.
we can't promise it,
Yeah.
but that's something that we could look to.
Right.
And one small feather in the cap of this, and what I like about it is, fact that it's not property tax is, you know, it's
only
not
certain
all
things, right.
the citizens of Edgar County that's paying for. We're having help from other people that
Right.
shop in Edgar County that
Right.
aren't from this
Right.
county. So to me, that's a boon.
Right.
That's what the education tax looks at your bill. Certain things have the tax on it, other things don't have the tax on
Right.
it.
Look, one of the big comments from, and I've talked to a lot of people in the last 3 weeks, is, I love it. Now some people that should be paying taxes are gonna be paying taxes. I'm for it. Anything you can come up with that doesn't rely on property tax is what we should have done a long time ago.
Right.
And that,
We'll see.
you know, that's kind of why I brought up the sunset clause, because I understand
opposed
both
to it.
points.
Yeah,
And I tend to agree with Carl a little more, but that's my personal opinion for whatever it's worth. But it's a bit of a compromise between the two positions.
that's
Because, you know, if in 5 years, if we haven't done anything with the
we
money,
shouldn't be giving them.
we
the-
shouldn't be getting it, and it's, you know, it's not gonna be there and
I think 5 might be
rolling.
too
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, I mean, pick a
But
number,
we're
right.
we're not debating that right now.
Yeah,
And that was, yeah, the only reason I would say longer than that is for the exact reason of if we went down the road of new jail and how that works, that could create.
Well, that could be a
problems.
30-year bond, but it also could be a 10-year, depending on how much we're generating.
well, and then the people have another chance to see if they think we're, gonna be spending it wisely.
The other thing you gotta recognize is, we've had engineers, the current jail was designed and built, even the old part, by architects. And it is, you run up to it with a bulldozer, and that whole building would move, not part of it crumble. It is in solid state. Does it need to be updated to be in line with current regulations? Absolutely. Could it be aesthetically improved to make it look a little better downtown? Not sure that's the highest priority, but yes. Can it house the jail or the numbers we need? Yes. So that's the kind of thing. I think you need ask an architect to start with. Is
Right.
we don't want to tear anything down unless you think it's just
I
not
agree.
worth it.
Right.
I mean, I don't think
Well,
we need to just.
That'd be step one. We already got.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to see how I'm viewing. I also very wholeheartedly agree with Dan that we need to boil it down to 2 or 3 things and not confuse the other stuff. Make it easier, and we all know it would make it easier to do some of the other stuff if our resources could be reassigned and the safety tax would be used only for the operation, maintenance, and renovation and/or new jail. I mean,
The
that's
other-
it.
The money we're saving there, we might don't tell the public, but you could use it for the
Right.
courthouse or whatever.
I think some people would discern that,
Right,
but the main message, the simpler the message is,
right. I agree.
the better chance that
Okay,
we've
so
got.
we all kind of agree on that, so what do we need to get this thing started
Well,
past point eight, the
we
tax
gotta
first?
decide, yeah, well, we gotta pass a resolution by the December 11th meeting, okay? We've gotta come up with whether we think it's gonna have a sunset in it of X amount of years, and what's the rate at with which we, at least the majority of it agree that it should be taxed at, okay? And that needs to be done between now and the 11th, okay? Then at that point, we need to start talking to people. Some people have come forward, we need to find out if they might form a committee. I need to be available, or anybody needs to be available to go to Kiwanis or any kind of different meetings and take the questions. Well, I'm just using Kiwanis just as an example, Lions, whoever. And then we can't do much of anything except answer questions till March 17th.
Well,
So,
thing I ever hear about is
Same
why
way.
the jail, why not, why haven't you got this and that, that's all I ever hear, my answer is, we're working on it, that's all I can tell you.
That's
That's what we're doing.
Yep.
So it sounds to me like basically we got a kind of
we got
an
an
outline
outline.
and a middle outline of what we wanna do.
Yep.
And you can't do this before you do this,
Just
and
on
so,
the rest of it after
that's what I was
December
getting at, that sounds to me like we got a handle on what we need to do,
I hope so.
it's a start.
Yep.
I don't think we'll catch on to do it, most people,
We need to still talk because somebody may come up with a comment that makes sense that we gotta deal with. I mean, you never know. Okay, So everybody's sort of on board with how we're heading?
Yep.
All right.
Did you have a couple of comments you were gonna make? A long time ago?
Well, before we started talking about that, I didn't know where we were all going, but yeah, I have a
Neither
few
did we.
things to cover. I have couple things to cover, but
We've got to talk about the jail next.
aren't you talking about the jail?
After December 1st, what's gonna happen?
No, we've been talking about the resolution for the tax.
We're talking about closing the jail
Yeah.
All right,
and how we're gonna handle it.
okay.
What's that draft? Isn't that the draft
That's
that we
it.
gotta pass?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess my comment there is, I've highlighted it for you in yellow that it's for state safety purposes only.
Right.
And it is, Mark drafted it so that it is restrictive, but yet not so restrictive that you don't have some flexibility to do the things that architect, some remodeling, whatever you need to do. Staffing, that type of thing. So I think that's the intent. You guys are all over your discussion is the intent of what this says. So I just wanted to confirm that to you.
Oh, that's fine. All right.
You want to talk jail next, and I'll go last?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. Carl?
No. Oh, my God. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, we have on your new agenda, item number 12, resolution for jail closure effective 11:59 p.m., November 30th, 2019. Carl and I both separately talked to the insurance company, and that's what's gonna happen. So, what we have to figure out are some other things that have come up. We are currently keeping one jailer who is going to be used, and he's on the seniority list as the highest level, and he is going to help along with D and J for transportation to and from facilities. Okay? The new jail administrator would like us to do booking at the jail so that, and by the way, I just talked to Jeff Weber, the vice president, just a few minutes ago, and they have no problem with doing booking. The crux of the matter, though, is money. And Carl, I hope you'll help me here, but if we do booking, or don't do booking at the jail, Coles County has an agreement that they want $60 a day per individual that they book and incarcerate, okay? Which blows our budget totally apart. What our administrator has come up with a plan that he has promised will work, especially if we kept maybe a second jailer as a transportation person, because it'd be better for a couple reasons. But let's go the first one on transportation. We need a female, okay? It also gives us an opportunity to have a staff in place, at least a core that we can build on to get this jail open as soon as we can, which we understand that we're going to be given an opportunity for, since they're impressed with our new person, Jay Wellman. They've talked to him and had several conversations, and they feel like he can do it, but we have to get all our, I hate using this expression all the time, but be in compliance and get all our ducks in a row. We'll have a core staff. Additionally, Jay's put together a plan to book and immediately remove the bookies or the prisoners to other places, which are 25 and 35, somewhere in that range, a whole lot cheaper than the $60 at Coles County, okay? And that's around the clock. He and his staff, he's talked to them, not talked to the female yet, because this has come up just now, but I sort of know her, I think she's probably going to be up for this, but at any rate, they will be on call and take prisoners out whenever they need to, 24 hours a day, whereby negating our need or eliminating our need to have a full-time staff around the jail, like hiring all the jailers back. Does that make sense? So, and Carl, I don't know how you feel about all this, cause this has just come all up, so you need to give, I'm giving you my take on it. Carl's may be totally different, so does that, how about questions of me first to see if I've covered the bases?
You have a female that will be qualified?
Yes,
Okay, good.
the two people we would keep under this plan are through all the training, they're on board, okay?
So, run me through what that looks like. So, someone is arrested by Paris City Police
They bring them in,
to the admin offices at the front of the jail, and then what?
well, they come in the back, okay? Well, I'm just,
they come in the back and they go to the
and they
front.
would call, in the meantime, they would be instructed to call Jay or his backup, and they would come down and book the individuals, whatever time it was.
So
and at that
the
point-
arresting officer is basically waiting or putting the
We have a
person
holding-
in a holding cell,
Right.
staying there
Until we get there,
take custody. Okay.
okay?
The people on call, are they paid by, when they're called in, or are they on salary, or?
No, they're on, they would be on a time clock, when they're
Okay,
punched in, they're punched in.
so the only time they're paid is when they're called in? Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yes. They would have regular hours also,
Okay,
okay? They would be full-time people, but they would get additional
Would
time
be
or
paid by the hour, or by?
union
certain
contract,
amount? Pardon?
union contract,
Okay.
per hour.
Okay,
All good questions.
I mean, Coles goes back down to 30 if they're not booking, is that correct?
We don't know that. We asked the sheriff to check on what they're doing, okay? Females would probably still, as I understand it, might still be booked at the place where they're, is that Clark County where the females are going?
Well, right now, that's all he wants is females.
Okay,
We've only got one female in jail right
Right.
today, you know, it's up and down all the time. But we can still book them here,
yeah,
you know, and then transport them to Clark County or wherever, you know, as far as the females. This thing, that might work, you know, we're gonna have a conversation here in a little bit
we
with
just
them.
want you guys to know. Go ahead. I got it.
you have to have two people all the time when you take a prisoner?
No, not, well, you should have.
Okay, and if we have a van or a bus or something?
They're working on that.
Okay.
Right.
Motorcycle, cycle.
Okay, I'm not gonna be
When
there.
we got left, we're just gonna go pee, I ain't good.
Yeah, you know, this whole thing,
Oh,
it
I
just seemed
agree.
like every week
Yeah.
something comes
Yeah.
up and you gotta go a different direction and
Yeah,
it's been a nightmare.
what percentage of the people booked are incarcerated overnight?
Majority of them,
Majority?
yeah.
I thought we weren't on good relations with Coles County. Or they're hard to deal with or something of that nature. Is that,
Carl doesn't like him.
you don't wanna say?
Well,
No,
initially,
the sheriff has been very cooperative with our sheriff to get this
Oh,
worked out.
okay, I see.
initially, our plan was to go to Clark County for booking, and they said they would do it short term. And then, so is that still potentially an option for short term booking?
No, they,
Change their mind, or?
we talked to them back in September when this first come up and they were agreeable to do it for a while.
Yep.
And then since then, he's thought his thoughts, and him and the county board have decided they don't want anything to do with it. But they still would help us out with, you know, like all of our most of our females are down there.
So there's no requirement to have a female booking officer for a female prisoner, is there?
There's no, part of the rules and regulations is that if you have to do the strip search part of it, you know, before you put them in the cell block, you do have to have, if you're dealing with a female prisoner, you have to have a female officer doing that.
So that's a good follow-on question then. So if we are booking a female to take down to Clark County, are we, because my understanding is every person that goes into a cell has to be stripped down to
Yes,
their
and you have to have a
shower.
female to do
That's
that
why we're-
procedure.
So
Yes.
do we need a female to book females here per the plan? Or can
See,
they,
that's where I'm saying that I
Sign
think
it
we were gonna leave it, that Jay was gonna check to see if Coles County could, not Coles County, Clark County could handle that portion, since they're the only ones that handle jail, which would relieve, every time we get a female, having to call Becky in. Which she would not be available 24 hours a day, I mean, to do that, you know,
right.
which is one of the things we need to work out.
I mean, the booking process, the paperwork and all the things therein is probably the longer process in, you know, if you're gonna incarcerate somebody, right? The actual, you know, taking their belongings, having them shower out or whatever, and put on the attire for the jail is not necessarily, I'm booking, I mean, I'm just wondering how that works out
Of
logistically.
course, you don't have to do that if you're booking them here and then putting them in the car. They would do that at the new facility.
Right, which would mean that we wouldn't necessarily have to do that, I just don't know if then we're still on the hook for, right, that was Coles, never mind, it's confusing. Okay.
I called Jeff last week about a rumor, with the particular person who works at the jail. You remember when I called you?
I don't know
Not to
whether we're
mention the name.
violating,
That's the reason why I'm not gonna mention the name,
what was going on.
but,
Not the name, but
particular person was relegated or moved down to a desk job, but he still has, according to the sheriff, the authority to go out on patrol.
no. He does, oh, I know what you're talking about. I checked on that. He was out, not on patrol. He was out transferring prisoners,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And that, a specific list of 6 items
Okay.
has been
All right.
given.
Well, somebody asked me about it, so that's the reason I
No,
called you.
it's a fair question. I think you guys, at least Carl knows who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that is all accomplished and
Okay,
notification's been given and, okay?
Okay, fine.
I did check that right away.
Okay, good.
As far as clearing everybody out, we have a timeline established, or we know when everybody will be out of the jail, or what's?
Last I knew, there was 4 people in it.
Right now?
Well, Saturday night,
Sweet.
so it could be more now, or they could have them gone, I don't know. But yes,
Put one on the back of the sidecar, that's like 2 trips,
I'm
so.
not.
Jay actually had to work Friday night for 8 hours and Saturday night for 4 hours to cover staff that had called off, so.
Flu bugs going around. Okay,
Well,
what else?
I don't know, are you with us, or, I mean,
So again, what's the amount of money we gotta pay to take them to Coles County? or Clark
it's
County?
$60,
How much?
$60 if we
Okay.
book them there.
But we,
And
if
we're
we book
thinking
them here, it's
that-
35.
We don't know yet.
Well, but that's not including booking.
Okay.
We're the only, if we book here, we, as long as the judges, we meet with, let me back up there. If we meet with county officials, because I don't want to put the judges on the spot, okay? So if we meet with county individuals to coordinate how law enforcement, plus we don't want to, it's off the record, sorry. Well, no, it isn't, never mind, I can't say it because I don't know how to answer the question without getting us into trouble,
That's fine,
okay?
that's fine.
Well, I mean, not only will we save ourselves some money, if we can make the booking here at our jail work, that's taking off a lot of pressure off our local officers as far as transporting to wherever they need to take them. So, I mean, if we can make that work, I think everybody'd be on board with it.
And we're relying on Jay saying he can do it. And I think the women, or female feature is one that we'll have to explore with him as soon as we get out of here to make sure that that's handy.
If
I
you have
think
to call
that's
him-
the,
if you have to call him in at night to book, is it still gonna cost a certain amount of money, or is it gonna cost more, or would it be cheaper to just take them over to the Coles County and let them book over there?
no, because it's gonna cost $600,000-700,000 to do it that way.
We can-
Right.
Still gonna have to run
Basically
something
double
to
our
the
costs.
Yeah,
transport.
right.
So
I
we
see.
probably could do our booking in cheaper here,
Okay,
even though it involves
It's
more
costly.
personnel.
Alright.
It
that's what I'm
probably,
asking.
in
In the
the,
long run,
probably cheaper,
Okay,
provided we can, find facilities. I mean, we've got prisoners in 44 facilities right now. Crawford, Clark,
Okay.
Cumberland, and Coles. And,
Okay.
they can't, now, Coles County said they would take up to 30, but there's other places they can only maybe take 10 or so, so we gotta have them spaced
Say,
out.
say get released from Crawford County, do we have to go down and pick them up, bring them back up to their home in Edgar County, or do they find their own ride? Hitchhike or what?
Bus ticket.
I would assume that we bring them back
I think we have
for
to.
release. I would just assume,
I just wondered, so,
if they say, no, I'll catch a bus, then
okay.
So,
Carl, can I ask a question?
Yes.
There's a booking process, and isn't there also a release process out of the jail, so wouldn't that have to be done there?
Yeah, you know, that'll be another thing that, you know, like if someone is brought to court here and they are sentenced to time served, well, probably they might have to be taken back down there, because, you know,
if you book them there, yeah.
their items are there, and then, you know, they would do, yes, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a,
I think this whole build a 10 up
yeah,
somewhere.
it's a major headache.
I guess as far as I'm sure all the important people are tracking on this, but I would wanna know exactly what my right and left lateral limits are as far as that holding cell goes. Because in order to make things functional as possible, we wanna be able to use that to its max extent, right, for efficiency's sake.
We can use
So-
more than just the holding cell though.
Well, and I'm speaking of holding just in general, right, as far as the spaces. So, you know, even if it's one of those where if we've got someone on staff and it's a few hours before we move them out, 4 hours, that's the.
It's already in the deal.
Okay.
It's there. And Jeff is gonna put it further, if this is the way we're going, that we have the booking process covered.
And
Again,
can
the
I,
phone's ringing.
Yes,
to,
sure, John.
to go back to Gary's point, and I know there's a lot of details we work out and it's fine tuned, but if we book them at Paris, it seems like the release process may also be at Paris, which would save the transport, but I mean, that seems to make sense to me, but whether that's the way it would work or not is probably a
belongings here.
4 hour.
Is that what you're talking about?
Why wouldn't you just, pardon me, why wouldn't you, if we're going down to pick up a prisoner at Clark County, and we're gonna bring them back to court, and there's some question about whether they're gonna, why wouldn't you bring everything back with them?
Yeah, throw their personal belongings
Right,
in the
and
van.
that way, they have them, they can keep track of them, and then if, you know, Carl, you're smiling, I don't know what that means.
Well, no, go ahead.
I
Well, I
mean,
just said, why wouldn't they keep their personal, they don't have a lot, do they? I mean, they've got their,
Normally not, just their probably commissary stuff, legal papers, you know,
well,
hopefully
we
they
could
keep.
buy a few duffel
Well,
bags.
this is stuff that
Yeah,
we don't need to
we're
be
getting
worried
into the
about.
weeds
That's
here.
for the sheriff and the
Right.
jail administrator
Weeds.
to deal
Weeds
with.
here.
Yeah.
but I mean, that's part of this process. So since we're in this high friction time, you know, that's the state's attorney, that's the judges, everybody working together to
Everybody's-
make this as
That's-
smooth as
We've,
possible.
we've already had 2 meetings with them to keep them apprised, and we're gonna have another meeting this week to, further.
Carl will be there.
Yeah.
All right. Augie?
Well, let's talk about something more exciting.
Ooh.
We need to set the meeting dates and times next year. And I do not have a proposal for you yet, but I did give you a calendar. Okay?
Okay.
And, well, we'll have to approve these at the next board meeting in December.
Okay.
And so what I'd like to do is just take a look at each month, just to make sure we're on the same page. And then Aaron will schedule his highway meetings around what you guys decide. So, January. Shouldn't be a problem with a study session On the 6th, well, I'll just ask you, do you want to keep the same format, so to speak? The Monday and the Wednesday board meetings and time, place, locations?
I do.
I'm inclined to.
Well, no opinion, you got something different?
I don't have opinions. I have facts and smart ass comments. That's what I deal in. No, that's fine.
September, what would you do in September?
Yeah, those are the things I want to ask about. Well, if you stay on the same type of format you're at now, we would have a board meeting on the 9th. And you would have a study session on the 8th. Either that or you move your board meeting to the 16th and have your study session on the 14th.
Would the following study session be on the 28th?
And then we would need to coordinate that with,
The very
Ye-
next week? would be the-
yes, yeah, that would, well, you would have one back to back then.
I'd probably be tempted just to make it on a Tuesday. That was my first thought, but otherwise you're gonna string together basically back-to-back weeks of meetings. Cause you're gonna have it on the 28th and then the 5th.
Right.
Or the 14th and 21st,
Right.
so.
I think we basically leave it like it is.
Yes.
If we have to make adjustments, I think we have to give, 30 days notice or something like that?
Okay, so,
Like it is, what do you mean?
yeah, I don't understand that.
Well,
We're looking at these individual dates.
I mean,
The only,
For example, like that September.
if we leave everything the same, everything will work except for the month of September, right?
right.
No. Yes, it will. I'm sorry. November, I've marked out Veterans Day, but we have 2 board meetings in November. An early one, I just answered my own question there. For the budget,
I'd just go 8th and 9th, 21st,
So, yeah,
September. Is that all right?
Yes.
Tuesday study session.
Yep.
okay, all right. Board meeting, again, in November, we usually have an early one.
Yep.
And then a later one, so that took care of that. Sorry to bother you with that. October is a holiday. Let's see, September, nope, that won't affect that.
January will be moving the study session probably to the 22nd from the 21st from the 20th.
No, we're open that day.
Oh, okay.
We traded that one off for Christmas Eve.
Gotta put my vacation calendar in there. Sorry.
I just wanted to put this out there so you guys could look at it. So I mean, I'll put a formal proposal to you for the next study session.
Okay. What else?
That's all I have.
Anything for the good?
While we're talking about meeting dates, Derek and Carl, is Friday the 6th, work for you guys at 11 instead of 4?
God.
She just texted me.
We'll work it out. I'll let you know what the plan is.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Derek moves, Phil seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.